that you should tell, you should drive and steer the unconscious and be a bit forceful sometimes. And I just wondered, as a principle, is it safe to assume that the unconscious mind always knows best, or would you say that there's exceptions?
It just always knows normal. And if normal is 10 donuts a day, that's normal. Doesn't have to have a reason.
Okay.
Next time you have a client, try and steer their unconscious mind and let me know how you go with that. There's a ridiculous rule. Because if that was the case, we could all sit there and say, I am a millionaire. I'm a millionaire with binaural beats on and meditation going. You've got to, these principles, guys, you've got to, and principles and ideas and theories, you've got to start to test this stuff.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense now, right? Those things don't work. Who likes to be told what to do? Consciously, probably not. Unconsciously, it becomes like a bratty little child. Because if it deems, Susie, that it's safer, more normal, homeostasis, I don't have to change anything, I'm good with this because I know best, because I'm the unconscious, bit of arrogancy, that's fine. You come in and say, no, I don't want this. The unconscious mind says, well, what can we have instead? And you go, I don't know. Why would it change? Or what if you say, you're a part of me, you're a part of my mind, I want you to do this. What are the chances it'll go, okay, Susie, yeah, you know best. You don't know best because you're conscious. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And as soon as it gets wrapped up in habits, whatever you want to call it, it becomes thick and robust. So you can steer all you want, but just expect to get a hell of a lot of unconscious resistance. Make sense?
Yeah, yeah, thanks.
Okay. Also, let me make sure these people. Oh, you did. Thank you, Fritz. So unconscious payoff, big picture thinking. We'll look at more of that again when we do some demos, because I want to point this stuff out. Why we have problems went through that. Let's look at principles versus techniques. So if you were to master this style of hypnosis, you've got to let go of the techniques. What creates techniques are principles. What's the principle or principles behind an imagination technique? Any idea? What do we think? Or any technique, really. Timeline, regression, what are the principles?
And that kind of starting ABS. Get their attention bypass.
Yep. And stimulate. Yep.
Stimulate.
Well, let me throw this out. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say you're placing the client's attention in unconscious territory, or at least trying to.
Isn't that what we did yesterday? By asking questions about it? So how techniques all come about is they're created from principles. An example of this is someone watching Erickson, and out of the blue, his client says, I feel like I'm floating back into a child again. He hasn't forced it, but it's shown up naturally. Some smart therapist came along and said, oh, that's what we're going to call a regression. Let me write that down as a technique. The only thing with techniques is you're now saying that every client can follow steps. And that's impossible based on unconscious payoffs. So instead of mastering techniques, which is what we don't do, which are language patterns, timeline, regression, imagination, floating above the stairs. If you float above stairs, walk down the beach, whatever that stuff is. Instead of, we can use the building blocks and create our own techniques on the fly. Wouldn't that be easier than learning step by step? Because step by step says that if I'm working with Jessica, as long as I do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, by definition, that means the problem is solved. What are the chances the problem is solved? Very hit and miss, and probably more miss than hit. But then we say, well, let's use repetition. You can do the wrong thing as many times as you like, it's still the wrong thing. Instead, we rely on principles. Okay? And a principle of finding the root cause, we have to express it through a technique, which was the hypnotic interview. But what are the principles inside what we did yesterday, inside the hypnotic interview? What are some of the principles? We used attention, put our client's attention on the problem. What are some other principles that we used? Any ideas?
Listening and repeating.
Listening and repeating. So a lot of listening.
Ask curious questions.
Ask curious questions. What else?
Observing.
Patch.
Observing. Unconscious moments. Okay. Now here's the funny thing. I can't remember who it was. I think it was all 3 demos. Out of the blue, this spontaneous thing popped up. I've got this memory of when I was a kid. What technique is that an example of? It's like an age regression. But why didn't we have to use the technique to exhaust that part of the session? Do we instantly switch like, oh, I know age regression, it's got 6 steps or so. I'm going to do all 6 steps. Why didn't we do that? But we got to the same result. Any ideas?
Because the unconscious took us there.
The unconscious took us there, which made it create organically and naturally. Why else? And there's a principle behind this.
I was just going to say, because we followed principles rather than techniques.
We
And the
definitely
principles
did.
work.
Definitely did. That's the cheater's answer. Yeah, absolutely. What's the principle? It's a big
Well,
one.
it must be a natural phenomenon if it happens.
Thank you. It's natural. The way you created problem was by using techniques on yourself to some extent. So what I'm saying is when a technique arises, whether it's an instant regression, instant imagination, hear the word instant relaxation, instant frustration, instead of applying a technique to itself, what if you just trust at a principle level, the unconscious mind has taken Hannah there for a reason, and it sure as hell knows what to do with her next. Doesn't that make your life so much easier as a therapist? But the principle us therapists don't rely on enough is a lot of trust. But you've seen it time and time again where your unconscious mind has looked after you. Who's ever had their heart broken before? Eventually you got over it, right? How the hell did you do that? Did you use a technique? Maybe you saw a therapist, that's fine. But did you just wake up one day after a bit of time and thought, you know what? Screw him, screw her. My life's better. Or screw both of them. My life's better without them. You know what I mean? How did you do that? Did you forget about it? Probably. Did you allow time? Was there a funny thing called processing as you went through a myriad of emotions? Isn't this all the stuff we looked at yesterday? So what I'm saying is, as Paul mentioned before, we're eliciting pure unconscious moments and allowing the unconscious mind to heal you the way it knows best. It doesn't need to be intervened and used a technique. It already knows what to do. But our ego steps in as therapists and we want to control things in a very bad way. Does that shed a little bit more light on what we did yesterday?
That's an awesome analogy.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, there's my next YouTube video. Okay, but it makes total sense because you've seen it for yourself. So a principle I want you guys to use is there has to be trust that the unconscious mind will do a lot of things during a session. Let's look at this now. It's got its payoff. Once we alert the unconscious mind that, hey, maybe this, and hear my language. Hey, unconscious mind, maybe this is not quite good. Would you be open to a conversation? Rather than what Susie mentioned, which is, hey, asshole, listen to me, I'm in charge. What are the chances it'll say, okay, yes, boss, I'm not going to do that. So you're having this casual conversation, okay? And you get the unconscious mind's attention. It goes, you know what? Susie, you make some sense here. Let's have a chat about this. It's open. Doesn't mean it'll change. It's open. If you start pushing it too much and forcing it, technique, what do you think the unconscious mind will do? Resist. Now, if you think conscious resistance is bad, wait till you experience unconscious resistance. And why wouldn't it? If it deems like, hey, Susie, don't you dare go into this territory. You're not ready for this. Go look over there instead. Go over there. Here's a reason. Go over there. Go over there. And the session goes around and round and round. So the unconscious mind is sort of pushing you away from the door. Don't you dare open that door. We're not ready. Okay. In the opposite of that, it's sort of like, okay, Susie, I'll let you peek in, but I'm going to go with you and I'm open to a chat. Okay. So from there, we use principles of allowing the unconscious mind to do what? It's got its unconscious payoff. We can't control that. What other trust, I didn't say trust issues. What other things do we have to trust that the unconscious mind will do that you guys have already witnessed in your own life, but also your clients? So we can't dispute them. These are fact. What other things would help you guys to trust? What do those things need to be? Yell them out.
The resources there.
Resources there. Who believes that? There's got to be a suit in that room somewhere. If there is a resource there, problem can also be there as well, because wasn't the problem a resource when it first started? So it's interchangeable. Now, I get this regurgitation thing where people say, you've got the answer inside of you, it's all about you, but I'm going to use a 3-step technique to show you how to get there. I'm not talking about that. The unconscious mind can find a resource and turn it into a problem, and it's just time and emotions that creates problems. Okay, first it's a resource. What if we just go to the same place where the problem is? However, we've got to look sort of beyond that. We can't just get the suits at the front, because we've tried all those on. They don't work. Let's go to the suit at the back in the special area. So what else do we have to trust in the unconscious mind?
Maybe that it would get there if we give it enough time to work it out.
Definitely. Please don't request the AI captions, guys. I'm not turning on because it stuffs the recording up. Okay, Zoom hasn't mastered that yet. So we've got to give it time. So how would we do that? Approach that during a session.
Those like process instructions where you like take all the time you need.
Everyone hear us do that yesterday? That's the reason for that statement. I'm not saying you better get this done now. I'm giving you 5 minutes because my next client's about to show up. The unconscious mind says, oh, hang on. No, fuck you. Let's make this harder and longer. I don't want to deal with this. Don't pester me. Don't push me. What else?
Allow it to time,
Yep.
I guess.
Give it time. Trust that it'll happen.
Silence.
Yep, absolutely. Who trusts in their ability to create a problem? Out of probably everything. So you've got to trust in your ability that it has to be a resource, because it was a resource before a problem. Okay. What
Well,
about trusting
if
that the
we have-
yeah, sorry, go ahead,
I'm
Ola.
sorry. If we have problems are in plenty, we have plenty of problems in the world, whatever our lives, wouldn't that also reason we have plenty of solutions?
So we've got to trust
Just
there's
the
a
opposite.
solution. Now, the reason I can trust this, let's put this into action. Who's had a problem before they've overcome? So my theory is correct. I'm not throwing this shit out there. If I said the reason you overcome your problem is because your higher power spoke to some religious figure and came back with a message, might be true, but we can't prove that. So I'm not going to give that to you. You can believe it that way. That's fine. If it helps, it helps. Okay. These are all based in fact and reality. What else do we have to trust?
It had some kind of reason to be there at
Unconscious payoff.
all.
Has to be a reason. Unconscious payoff. It's just that unconscious payoff gets old after a while and no longer serves you. That's very technical and clinical. What about we trust the unconscious mind to take a client as deep into trance as they need to? i.e. takes them as deep into that room to find the best suit. It knows all the suits. You don't, because you haven't been there before.
Assuming it trusts the person that's working with it.
Yep.
Them.
Who would believe as well, you've got to trust that maybe my client's eyes don't need to be shut. Makes sense. Who's had those clients before?
Yeah.
When you can tell they're in trance, but their eyes are open doing this thing. Oh, this is strange. So we've seen this. So why do we forcefully tell our clients, close your eyes? Sure, it can get rid of some distraction, but that's all. It doesn't take a client deeper. What about checking brain waves? I still never really understood that. We haven't done that. What else do we have to trust? So we know the unconscious mind can find the right suit, the right resource. We know it can take them as deep as they need to. We know that if it thinks Robin's problem requires this thing we call a regression, I'll do that for him. The regression that shows up naturally is Robin trying on the suit through a regression. It's just like a regression suit. If that's making sense, hopefully everyone's on track. But we had it yesterday where 5 or 6 spontaneous techniques showed up. We had imagination, we had some visualization, we had some relaxation, eye closure, we had age regression, we had memories. But in the case of Ira yesterday, did he tell the client to do any of that stuff? No. And that's the value of it. We trust and give it time. The unconscious mind will know what's best. Is there anything else we have to trust, guys?
Yeah, we would have to trust that anything that was presented doesn't necessarily have meaning to it.
Yep. So how can we prove that with fact?
Ask them.
Yeah, definitely ask. So not the technique, but I just want to confirm with you guys because I want you guys to see, hang on, I have seen this before. This theory makes sense. I don't just want to throw random ideas out there.
If
I meant,
if
for
the theory
example,
Go ahead.
if the theory was true, then it would be universally true for every single person. It would be like a law, but it isn't.
Who would believe in that? That's exactly the case. Who here believes that their problem has a different unconscious payoff than the person sitting next to them with the same problem? Right? So that's true. That's fact. We can agree with that. So as soon, and we've seen it through the demos, we know as soon as a client tells us what their problem is, we've got to remember that all conversation, bar none, which is all this therapy is a mixture of two things. What would those two things be? Anytime we speak, therapeutic or not.
Conscious and unconscious thoughts.
That's it. Conscious and unconscious thoughts. When we pull these things together, what happens to them? They get all knotted up. Didn't we talk about knots yesterday? Our job is to find those knots, undo them, and start that conversation with the unconscious to create a new knot, but more in a positive way. So if you know, bar none, that I would probably say most conversation is more unconscious than conscious, a lot of random things come up. Like I'll give you the example of when you first had your heart broken. Did you want to seek revenge straight away? Did you get pissed off that is outside of your personality? Instantly. And then you rationalized it later. Then you went back to the emotion. And before long, this thing's so chaotic that if you don't overcome it or deal with it, or the unconscious mind says, you know what, Kerry, I'm happy to keep this for the rest of your life. You spontaneously one day have a phobia of eating broccoli. I think, where the hell did this come from? But this is true fact. This is as crazy as your client's problem get. And the deeper and more resourceful it gets, as in it starts to attach new knots to it, it is so fucking hard to find this singular root cause because it gets so buried. But what I said yesterday, if we just keep questioning it, eventually we get to some territory where your client goes, holy shit, what is that about? I didn't know that. Of course you didn't, because it was buried deep. Does that make sense? And that's where that hypnotic interview is coming into it. Okay. Anything else we got to trust, guys? And I get it. This is easier said than done. But with enough demos, you'll see this.
We have to trust that we don't always, as therapists, we don't know what's happening, but it's still happening.
Yeah. This is a good point, Sarah. What's the only thing you have to remember as a therapist?
That they have the resources and that
Definitely.
you're just sort of guiding.
Yep. So how do we start guiding? All we have to know is where to start. That's a classic Erickson line. And the way we know where to start is, what's the problem? What happens after that? I don't know. What's Kerry going to say 3 questions from now? I don't know. Where's this going to end? I don't know. All I have to remember is where to start. Then once that part of the session's done, I know I need to do this thing called processing, tasking, demarcation, which I'll show you guys today. So there are steps, but all in all, those steps can become or can be thrown away if you've got a lot of trust at the start and you do the hypnotic interview right. That's why I spend so much time talking about it. Okay. Anything else we think we might trust, guys? Is this all making sense? Is it giving some more light on what we talked about yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it seems so casual. Doesn't look like there's a lot going on, is there? Especially in Ari's session, because he trusted in this stuff. And a lot of his stuff was just repeating back. It sounded boring to us because it's not us in the session, but it's what our client needs. As soon as you start butting in, what are you now saying to the unconscious mind? I know more than you. And if that person sitting in front of you is 50 years old, they've had 50 years experience in this lifetime, do you think they know more about themselves than you do? That goes beyond a technique? Yes. So please, from this point forward, do not go into a session presuming what technique you're going to use, because now you're guessing. You're guessing, your client's guessing. Before long, you guys will both need therapy. Make sense? No point stressing out about it. How could you know what you need to do? All you've got to rely on is the principles. That if Edwin's working with me and he sees I have an unconscious moment, he knows how to utilize it, which is ask them about it. Now, a technique would be me saying, say this language pattern, Edwin, when you see this. We're not doing that. We're relying on the principle, which is, what do I do when I see an unconscious moment? Make it bigger. How you do that, it's endless. You can do whatever you want. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. Now, as far as basic, that's as basic it needs to get. There are hypnotherapy trainings out there that spend the first day just talking about the fucking history of hypnosis. Who cares? It means nothing when it comes to client. If you want to research that stuff, there's endless videos and books you can read about that stuff. Okay. So let's look at